Hey neighbor, welcome to a new episode of Burlington at Work. I'm Nicci Kadilak, founder of Burlington Buzz, and here's what's happening in town this month. The voters have spoken, and the proposed Burlington High School project will not proceed as planned after more than 2/3 of voters said no to a debt exclusion at the special election on November 15th. Learn more about how things shook out in BCAT's Community Update. Burlington Buzz's Buzz Magazine Winter Edition should be hitting mailboxes around town any day now. The Buzz has been producing this magazine for over 2 years, and this is the first time it's been printed and distributed to homes. Be on the lookout for activity ideas, gift guides, town updates, and much more. If you can't wait for it to come in the mail, you can find it online at burlington.buzz/magazine. The fall high school athletic season is over, and several athletes and teams had standout seasons. The girls soccer, girls volleyball, and boys football teams all made it to the playoffs, and the combined Woburn-Burlington swim team placed 5th at the state championship. Senior volleyball captain Ula Rinkevichite made history with 2,000 career assists, one of only 10 ever in the state of Massachusetts to reach this milestone. Teams are already organizing for the winter season, and practices begin after Thanksgiving. With the temperatures dipping below freezing and the winter days coming on, we wanted to remind you that fuel assistance is available for those who are having trouble absorbing the cost to heat their homes. Search State Fuel Assistance on the burlington.org website for information about how to apply. UCC Burlington will be hosting a Thanksgiving food drive on Saturday, November 22nd from 10 to 1 to collect Thanksgiving non-perishables to distribute with their Thanksgiving meal program. If you're watching this after that date, you can still support the food pantry. Check the People Helping People Facebook page for opportunities, which include supplying gift cards to help seniors strengthen their food security, toys and gifts for the holiday season, as well as pet food items. Stick with us for a discussion with Pantry Manager Julianne Kelleher, as well as members of other social service organizations in town during our next segment. This is Burlington at Work. Hey there, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about social services that are available here in Burlington, and with me I have 3 really special guests today. First, we've got Shayla Farron, who is an outreach social worker at the Council on Aging. We've also got Julianne Kelleher, who is the Senior Pantry Manager for People Helping People, and then we've got David Langford, who is the Director of Burlington Youth and Family Services. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here today. I just want to start off with a really broad overview. For people who are not familiar with what your organization does, can you give us just a quick rundown? And I'll start with you,
Sure.
Shayla.
The Burlington Council on Aging, or the Burlington Senior Center, helps anyone and everyone over the age of 60 with just about anything, whether it's financial related, social aspects, mental health, really just about anything.
Great. And Julianne?
People Helping People, also known as the Burlington Food Pantry. We're here for food assistance as well as holiday assistance, and in collaboration with Youth and Family Services, some other types of assistance are available as well.
All right, thank you. And David?
And at Youth and Family Services, we provide mental health counseling for Burlington families with children, adolescents, and young adults. And together with other departments, help provide social services to all town residents. So partnering with other local organizations as well.
Great, wonderful. So let's dive right into it and talk a little bit about how we are already collaborating. What are some things that you all do to work together and coordinate services for folks who need more than one thing? David, let's start with you.
I don't mean to be glib, but we pick up the phone. If someone reaches out to me and I can put together that they may be better served by the senior center, I'll just pick up the phone and call the Council on Aging. And if there's someone who is in need of food services, we'll call Julianne or Jim over at the food pantry, as well as any of a number of those sports. And then we have some formal, we get together, there's meetings that we hold monthly to coordinate between the different town departments, police, Board of Health, the school, and there are things like quarterly meetings to coordinate with various town service agencies, charities, things like that. So we talk a lot.
Wonderful. What about, so we're in a period right now where food is top of mind, I think, for folks, because there's been some federal cuts and other issues going on federally that we won't talk about here. But people are concerned about food security here. How big of a problem is food insecurity here in Burlington, and how is the town already addressing it?
We do have a lot of seniors that are already on SNAP. We would love to see more people on SNAP. Right now, obviously, there's a hold, although some people over the weekend did get their full benefits.
Okay.
We are not sure about people who get their benefits like the middle of the month, so only time will tell. But we do have a lot of seniors coming in needing food, and we refer them frequently to the pantry.
Yeah, and what are you seeing, Julianne?
But definitely an uptick in clients, but also a lot of that too is if they qualify for SNAP, we would love to see them at the pantry anyways to provide them with that offset of services to help them out. And I think we're seeing that uptick now because since SNAP benefits have also been cut, people are coming over to us, but we can serve them on any given day as well. So it's a little bit of both. Maybe this is a good thing for some folks who didn't know we were here as a resource as well.
Yeah, great. Yeah, raising awareness is definitely key. And SNAP, for folks who are not familiar, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, otherwise known as, or formerly known as, food stamps. David, are you seeing anything similar?
We continue to see families coming in who, the grocery prices are rising, and it's hard to put food on the table, especially if you've got young ones. So, continues to be a stressor.
Yeah, and Julianne, are you all providing anything other than like the specific food that folks can get? What other kinds of things can people hope to connect with?
I think the other thing is once you become a pantry client, you can sign up for special things like, we give a whole entire Thanksgiving meal to folks. The turkey, the stuffing, everything along those lines where maybe they wouldn't have gone out and purchased that if they didn't have food pantry services prior, as well as the Wish Tree program where families can sign up to receive holiday gifts for their children as well. Those are big programs that people have as a benefit of being pantry clients. So it's not just the everyday food, there's also additional supports as well.
Great, and the Wish Tree is starting up again soon, right?
Oh yes, it's in full swing.
Okay, and where can people donate to that?
So people can donate online, and as well as contact us if they have specifics they're looking to donate, as well as for Thanksgiving too, if they're looking to assist with that. Always give us a call, email us, or drop it off at the donation center from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Great, wonderful. So we know that food insecurity and lack of financial resources can really impact all sorts of different aspects of life. And David, I hope that you could talk a little bit about that and what you see.
Yeah, we deal with families, individuals, couples, around issues of mental health, and our staff is of the mind that a lot of these mental health issues, in a lot of ways have as their root very real world kind of external causes. So families that are struggling to put food on the table, children who are undernourished as a result, that can cause insecurity and anxiety in families. And when those needs go unmet, it can manifest as mental health issues. It can manifest in other areas. Children who, are worried about what's going on at home will go on and perhaps in school to have issues that show up there as well. And it just generally, it affects people's bandwidth. If you don't have, it's like a hierarchy of needs. If you don't have the basics covered, how are you going to tend to caring and nurturing and connecting with one another as a family?
Yeah, and I think housing is also another aspect.
Housing is huge.
Yeah,
housing is huge. And I can say more about it, but in the same way, if housing is insecure, obviously if families are without housing, that's a huge stress. There's not a lot of other things families can do if there's not a place to sleep at the end of the day. But if housing is insecure, if it feels like we could be evicted, or if it feels like the housing is tenuous because of violence or other safety concerns in the community, then that also puts a stress on family systems, and it affects their ability to take care of one another.
Yeah, I mean, I see this when I go to the doctor with my kids. They actually ask all of these questions. The social, I can't remember the name of the form, but it asks, do you think that you can take care of your mental health needs? Do you think that you are secure in your housing and in your food? And that's a way of sort of capturing folks and referring them to the right services that they need. Folks look around in Burlington and they don't see people sleeping on park benches. They don't see people, wandering the streets or anything like that. So one might think that everybody in Burlington has housing. Is that the case? Is there housing insecurity here?
Yes. We've been seeing a lot of homeless seniors coming in, people that are living in their cars, people that might be living with friends, more and more. A lot of people living in hotels right now. So a lot of people are experiencing homelessness. And
what are some of, you speak about seniors, what are some of the unique financial needs that seniors are facing, after they reach the age of 60?
Paying for medication, so people might want to pay their mortgage rather than pay for their medication, or some people, they kind of have to pick and choose at some point. A lot of people, they might have to start paying health insurance bills. They might have to start paying for ambulance rides. Some people still have a mortgage, some people don't have a mortgage.
Right, and those who don't have a mortgage, they don't have their taxes being taken care of through escrow. They have to pay their own taxes quarterly, which, like you mentioned, it could turn into a decision about whether or not we pay for, groceries and medication, or taxes on our home, and those more immediate needs may be prioritized. Yeah, David, what are you seeing for social and mental health needs in the community, and has that changed over the last several years?
Yeah, over the last several years, I mean, a lot of what we work with families to face is, tales all the time. It's anxiety, it's depression, it's struggles with substance use, it's struggles with divorce and conflict, and those kinds of things. I think lately, we are watching the sort of cohort of young folks who maybe started school or were young when COVID restricted, who could go to school and have some of that early socialization, and we are seeing that that crew presents with some unique needs in families who didn't have the opportunity to develop certain skills or make those adjustments. It can be tricky for folks. I also think, and I don't know how to describe this, I also think that living in the kind of environment we have today, politically, socially, especially with social media, it can make people's ability to communicate with one another, and especially to communicate around difference, really difficult. We have, as I see it, Burlington is an increasingly diverse community on a number of different ways, and there's obstacles to communicating about that effectively and to seeing one another for people.
Yeah, I hate to soapbox on this show. I do sometimes, and I will for a second. One of the reasons that Burlington Buzz exists is because I notice the rift between folks and the inability to communicate. Once you know something about somebody, then you think you know everything else about that person, and if it's something that you don't like, then you just don't like that person, and it's just easy to throw that relationship away, or that potential relationship away. And that's one of the things that we work really hard to connect folks, and just like this group here is working really hard to connect folks. What are you seeing, and Julianne, please feel free to jump in if you'd like, around mental health needs for seniors and for other people in the community?
I think especially right now, a lot of people's mental health it's been a tough couple weeks.
Yeah. And the weather change doesn't help either. We're going into the
But we are referring a lot of people to go see their doctors, to talk about how they've been feeling, or go. We do have a referral source for mental health counselors if anyone's interested.
Yeah.
Anything about you guys?
I think we've definitely seen some folks coming in who are a little devastated. Not sure how they're going to put on the food on the table next week. So I think, again, in collaboration with all of each other, if we see somebody, we can definitely make that referral.
Yeah. And speaking of, collaboration, do we have any success stories that we can point to of where, collaboration among departments and among nonprofits has been, can be highlighted as something successful?
I think there's been times where I've referred people to the pantry and they might have been a little hesitant to go, but then they get to know the people that work there and they're like, why didn't I go sooner? They're so welcoming. Now they have the options where they're kind of able to pick their own food. I think in the past it was kind of more of a, this is what you get. And I think people like to know that they have options now and it's a friendly staff.
Yeah, and I can say I've definitely had folks come in who said they've been referred, but they didn't have the confidence to, come in. I had somebody come who, came to the pantry a few times and didn't drive down because they were feeling sort of, uncomfortable with it, but then sent an email and thanked us after. So it's just kind of getting over the hump and the stigma of being able to provide and get that resource.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything to add, David?
No, I think some of my favorite work to do is to connect families with these other resources, and then in turn get to connect kind of behind the scenes with other folks helping them out. I feel like that's what community is.
Yeah, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention the other nonprofits that are in the community that are supporting families and children. There's Help Us, there's We Care, tell me if I'm missing anybody, that just provide information and provide resources for families that are in need, for people who are without homes, and really especially Help Us, restoring the dignity of folks so that they can feel confident going out and getting back into the world. So yeah, I would love to know, how can residents get involved? This is it's a little bit tricky, right? Because this group and this group, Youth and Family Services and the Council on Aging are sort of town organizations, and the food pantry is more of a nonprofit that invites a little bit more support from the community, but anybody's free to answer this question.
Definitely pick up the phone and give us a call if you're not sure how. But also, like I said, the donation center is open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Even one item is just fine. If you have a can of corn you'd like to donate, that's great too. But there's also other opportunities. You can join us at the Wish Tree at the mall and help give out wishes and receive gifts. Donate financially. Everything. There's something for everybody.
Yeah, and fundraisers sometimes too. It's a Capital Grill raffle. Is that going on right now?
It is. Until January.
All right, peoplehelpingpeopleinc.org. Go there and check that out. How can folks get involved in this more of a town department kind of way? Yeah.
We always have volunteer opportunities. We do have volunteers every day, Monday through Friday, for different events. We have greeters at the front door. We have people in the gym. There's always people there if people want to just come stop by and get a tour. We'd love people to come.
All right.
So we want people to see the building. I think a lot of people don't know about the senior center.
Yeah, and all the things that happen inside the senior center. There's exercise classes, there's art classes, there's talks, events, dancing. There's so much joy and so many cool opportunities for connection in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have 4 social workers now, and we can help screen people for different financial resources. So if anyone needs help, not even just for food, we can definitely talk to people about other things.
Great, wonderful. And David?
I think the nature of our clinical work, of course, is so confidential. I do think that spreading the word about our programs and groups that we offer is really helpful. And I'll say that I think folks speaking out about their own experiences with mental health and social support goes a long way to end stigma. In a town as generous as this, it can still feel difficult, I think, to reach out for help. And so I think town residents letting other people know about what's available, and to the extent that you're comfortable sharing their own stories is also pretty helpful.
Yeah, and I didn't ask about this earlier, but I'm going to ask now. I know that you provide some clinical work, but you also have some groups. Can you tell us a little bit about those groups before we close out today?
Yeah. Our department offers activity groups for young folks and adolescents. Every year we offer, it's called Fit Girls. It's a running program for 4th and 5th grade girls at the various elementary schools. And that is to support young women becoming physically fit, but also emotionally and relationally, fit, connected with one another. And that culminates in a 5K just in a couple weeks, the Turkey Trot through the rec department. We also offer some activity groups. We offer a rock climbing group for teens aimed at developing stress coping skills. And we have, it's called Creative Self, which is an artistic expression group that aims to support young folks, teenagers, expressing themselves in a variety of different artistic methods as well. So we do those groups fairly regularly, and then we're always, trying to come up with groups that meet the need as well. So in the past, we've offered groups for parents, groups for grandparents, things like that to support folks however they need.
Right. So if you see a need emerge, that may turn itself into a new program that you offer. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, I'd like to close this out by just saying, what is one thing that you wish every Burlington resident knew? And we've touched on these things a little bit, so you may be repeating yourself. That's totally fine. David, why don't you start, and we'll just come this way.
Yeah. I wish that everybody knew both how generous and willing to support that the town residents are, as well as the needs that are present, that your neighbor may have needs that you wouldn't know about.
Yeah, absolutely. Julianne?
I would say the collaboration as well. It's if you've never needed services before, you might not know that the collaboration is available. If David's not sure of something, we can pick up the phone and call somebody else in town. Maybe it's a senior center need. The collaboration is present. It's just you might not know it if you've never needed the services before.
Yeah. Great. Shayla?
I would say don't be afraid to ask questions, and maybe don't be go see these different town organizations, go ask questions, go meet people, because how are you going to know about it if you don't ask?
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you, all three of you, David, Julianne, Shayla, for being here with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next up, we have our little segment called Burlington 101, where you'll learn a little bit about the way your town works. Last time on Burlington 101, we talked about the two branches of government in Burlington. In this episode, we're taking a closer look at the executive branch, the action arm of the town government. When we talk about the executive branch, we're really talking about two groups that work hand in hand: the boards that make the decisions and the departments that carry them out. Today, let's focus on the boards and commissions, many of which are elected directly by residents. The Select Board is Burlington's executive leadership team. They set the policy, approve the tax levy, and work closely with the town administrator to guide the town's overall direction. The School Committee oversees education, setting district policy, and the budget that keeps our classrooms running. The Planning Board helps shape development, reviewing projects and proposals, while the Board of Assessors ensures fair property valuations. The Board of Health protects public health, and the Library Trustees guide our public libraries' policies, programs, and resources. Other boards, like the Recreation Commission and the Housing Authority, have a mix of elected and appointed members, while the Conservation Commission is fully appointed. Still, all share the same goal: ensuring Burlington services meet the community's needs. Each of these boards also supervises the administration of its related department. For example, the Select Board appoints and oversees the town administrator. The School Committee hires and evaluates the superintendent, and so on. Together, these boards represent your voice in town government, the citizen side of how Burlington runs. Welcome back to Burlington at Work. I'm back with David Langford. He is the director of Burlington Youth and Family Services, and we're just going to have a conversation about what it is that your organization does and your role in it. So welcome back.
Thank you.
It's really great to see you again.
Good to be here.
So let's just start off with the broad question of what does Burlington Youth and Family Services do in a nutshell?
Yes, we're a town department and we're a town agency. We provide low-cost mental health counseling to Burlington individuals, couples, families, and we do provide group services primarily for families with school-age children, adolescents, and young adults. And we're one of a couple of town departments that provide social services for all town residents, regardless of age. So help with things like folks struggling with rent, utilities, putting food on the table, that kind of thing.
Okay, wonderful. And this is maybe a surprise to me that Burlington Youth and Family Services was a part of the town's municipal structure.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about how that happened?
Yeah, the story that I've received is, let's see, we've been a town department since 1974.
Okay.
And at the time there was a youth group, or it was called House of Commons, and it wasn't affiliated with the town necessarily, but it was providing services for teenagers. At the time, Burlington had some superlative number of adolescents, teens, and so providing services, a place to hang out, groups, that kind of thing. And the town saw that and kind of offered to bring it on board as a town department. So we've been a town department since 1974, providing, like I said, social services and therapy services for town residents since then. And yeah, have been working since then. We had our long-term director. Her name is Christine Shruhan, who I think has been interviewed in a few places. She worked for the department. I want to say since like 1980, late 80s.
Okay.
Was the director since the 20-teens, I believe, and then retired just this past summer. So I'm coming on board as the director. Yeah.
Wonderful. And as far as fitting into the town structure, there's a BYFS board.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? And
Yep.
is that board appointed by the select board?
It's a board of directors that is, appointed by the select board.
Okay.
Yes.
You think so? Okay. I'm pretty sure that's the way
as a town department, right?
Structure is.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Not a board of advisors, a board of directors.
A board of directors.
Mhm, yeah.
And so you talked a little bit about what kind of services that you offer. Where do people usually find you?
Yeah, I think folks get to know us through a couple places. Folks get to know us in the schools a lot of the ways. We have a couple of groups. We have one in particular. It's called Fit Girls. It's a running group for 4th and 5th grade girls that our staff run every year. And I think a lot of families come to know us through their girls being in Fit Girls, or in some of our other group offerings for teens and young folks. The other place that folks will get to know us is we often get referrals from the food pantry. People Helping People is a service organization in town that operates a food pantry. We also provide the screening for a service of theirs called the Covenant for Basic Needs, helping town residents with financial support for rent and utilities and things like that. So folks will come to us from a couple of different places.
Yeah, and this feels unique. I don't know about other towns, but is this unique?
I think so. I think lots of other towns would have a human services department. The fact that Burlington is organized to provide services tailored for children and young families, for the Council on Aging, for our elders, I think it's pretty unique. It speaks, in my view, it speaks to the generosity of the town and the sort of welcome as more than just lip service, but welcome as an action that this town really emulates from what I can tell.
Okay, all right. And how, I know there's a lot of different, we just talked earlier in the show about the different ways that the different organizations that exist in town that you interface with. Can you say a little bit more about how Burlington Youth and Family Services kind of coordinates and integrates with those other groups?
Yeah. So let's see, for example, the schools, we're in touch with folks at the schools to coordinate around students or families that may be needing social, basic needs support, or who might benefit from counseling. So we'll get referrals that way. We also, what comes to mind is every year the 9th grade health class teaches a unit on mental health, and our staff actually come in and do some teaching and instruction around recognizing the signs and symptoms of depression. The idea is we're empowering students to learn how to recognize when their friend may be struggling, and then help get them pointed toward resources. We also coordinate with the police and the fire and the Board of Health. Let's see, for example, there's a monthly meeting that folks from those different departments will get together to talk about and coordinate resources, comparing notes on the kinds of needs that are present in the community. or helping one another out with work that we're already doing with town residents. So.
Yeah, and when I look around in town, I may think like, well, things are going fine for me. I really don't notice any of these needs that are happening in town. What would you say might be some of the most common misconceptions about social services here in Burlington?
I think it is that people who need social services don't live here. That we don't. Burlington doesn't have folks with those kinds of needs, and the opposite is quite true. As generous as Burlington is, there are folks with significant needs for housing, childcare, support with rising costs, including rents, utilities, and putting food on the table. I think too, as a mental health counselor, I also see a stigma around mental health. I think it's getting better culturally these days, but there does still exist this idea, this misconception that mental health issues like anxiety or depression or substance use, those are things that happen to other people who are different than me, when in fact those things affect any of a number of us.
Yeah. And so, you do a lot of things. You meet with a lot of clients, you refer a lot of people. What are some of the ways that you know that your team is doing a good job at what they're doing? How do you measure success?
That's a great question. How do we measure success? There's metrics that we can think about. We can think about sort of the vitality of our department by how many people we're seeing, and we keep track of those things. I believe this year we saw, the number, like 323 people and counting for clinical services, not counting basic needs help and all that. We could count success in the kinds of problems we're helping folks to overcome. So, we try to keep track of the number of evictions, utility shutoffs, things like that. But when we meet as a staff, I think one of the more significant touchstones for me is if we as a staff, we work day in, day out, hearing people's hardest stories and coming alongside them with during their hardest moments. Nobody who comes to see my staff is coming because they're having a particularly great day. And I think for my staff to remain vitally connected to the things about these people, about the people they see that are to stay connected to their best hopes and values. I think that our ability to stay sensitive and empathetic is kind of the real measure of success. Not to be
it's one of those
Hallmark
things that
card here,
you can't necessarily
there's
measure
not
to check off a list.
Yeah, but if we lose our ability to
value people's
connect
humanity,
with people, to value people's, to realize too that the forces that affect folks and surface these mental health and social issues, these are really forces that affect us all. And if we pretend otherwise, we've got our head in the sand.
Yeah. So if, I know that you have resources from the town, but if there was one thing that you could sort of wave a magic wand and say, man, I really wish we had this in place, what would it be?
Affordable housing. People need places to live. People need places to live. People need safe places to live. And people need to be able to live places where they can feel stable, that they can predict that they'll live there for a long time, where rents won't raise, and where factors like community violence and domestic violence don't threaten what is otherwise a good housing situation. Great. So housing to me it's at the root of a lot of social and basic needs issues, but also mental health as well. If you can't put food on the table or know where your head's going to be at night, then you're not going to have the bandwidth to attend to mental health and other issues.
Yeah, or school performance.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, taking care.
Well, great. David Langford from Burlington Youth and Family Services, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
It was great to meet and talk with everybody today, and I can't wait to see you next time on Burlington at Work.